Yellow, I have a question for everyone at the end of the video based around political foresight. In particular, the effects of modern mass for-profit media on our political system. Now shall we begin? Now, prudence dictates that large for-profit institutions will, of course, seek to create, maintain, and expand their profit base. Now, since these companies offer the media they produce as the product that they sell, they of course have to attract potential buyers, which can be the advertisers seeking to advertise some other product or even some other form of media content. Of course, the other way is the fact that they're selling their product directly in the form of the media they produce. Now, what does foresight say about all this? Now, foresight dictates that when it comes to advertisers, unless they're advertising your product, they are effectively advertising for media that could essentially be your competition, sabotaging oneself. However, the trade-off is you do receive usually some sort of financial kickback for those advertisements. This in turn, unfortunately, also means a sizable portion of your income potentially is dependent on people who have no investment in your product truly succeeding, only the products that they are advertising. They may not even be advertising for a product of any kind. They could just be advertising for a particular political group or ideology that might see your content at some point as inherently a problem that must be dealt with. At the same time, you're giving the advertisers a sizable portion of authority over what kind of content you can put out, because at the end of the day, a good chunk of your income is dependent on keeping the advertisers happy, taking a lot of the power for content creation out of the hands of the content creator. Now, with the other route, where you depend directly on the selling of your product or donations from people who like it, you run into the problem that if the market shifts on you, you essentially lose your income, or at least have it severely diminished. And one of the best ways to compensate for that is through the advertisers, which, as previously mentioned, has its problems. On top of that, you could run into the problem that if someone takes offense to your product, they can directly smear it and it can lose popularity or flat out be boycotted and tank in any sort of sales. This, of course, leaves content creators and people who deal in mass media in general with the problem that at the end of the day, their income is going to tank by the offense of someone who in all likelihood is more concerned with hurting your product, as for whatever reason they've taken offense to it. Now, where political foresight comes into this is the fact that this relationship can be easily abused by people who have a clear political narrative or a general bias towards one political side or the other. This leading to the potential for the fact that it can inflame already existing political tensions between two large political groups, as the media will have to constantly cater to the side they prefer in order to maintain their profit base. Now, some are, of course, willing to take a hit to their profits if they're particularly vehement in their belief in their political side, but most will do everything they can to keep their profits up and expand, which means they will eventually have to increase the aggressive rhetoric in order to keep people's attention on the media they produce. However, normally, in my experience, if anyone acts on the aggressive rhetoric that these media groups introduce, they tend to deny it as being one lone individual or group acting on its own, and that they shouldn't be held responsible for what this group or individual did. Or they just simply blame the other side and their media, which then can make things worse and also prevent the two sides coming to dialogue, as each are constantly pointing fingers at one another, making the already tense situation worse and increasing the chance that someone else will act aggressively, based on the rhetoric that the media they are intaking is making. Now, with all of this in mind, my question at the end of this video is simple. Should the mass media be regulated in a way that helps prevent the inherent problems in these for-profit mass media monopolies that have a habit of forming, from leveraging whatever influence they have to gain profit off of people's political leanings? That will be all for now, and thank you for your time, and see you around.